IEBC CEO Ezra Chiloba and his team were grilled for the second day by the Public Accounts Committee over a series of audit queries raised by the Auditor General. Chiloba was taken to task over a donation of electronic voter identification devices to Burundi, which were then transferred, also a transfer of 200 BVR laptops to the Devolution Ministry in 2014. Francis Gashuri is now joining us with the details, latest details from Parliament. Over to you, Francis.
Yes, Joy, I can hear you. Yes, a short while ago, the IEBC team has just concluded a sitting with the Public Accounts Committee chaired by Ugunja Member of Parliament, Opio Wandai. They were here to answer to audit queries raised by the Auditor General in relation to the 2014-2015 financial year. Remember, when they were here on Tuesday, quite a number of issues came up, and yet more issues continue to be elicited by the Auditor General, and the members of Parliament were probing IEBC team on those specific issues. And top of them was the donation of 3,000 kits, electronic voter identification devices to Burundi. This, they say, was part of this was part of an agreement between various electoral bodies in the region, in the East African region, to assist Burundi in its election. And that though Burundi had requested for several other issues, IEBC team only decided to give them those kits. And the members of the Public Accounts Committee were raising questions because you remember those EVID kits were part of the electoral equipment that was procured at a cost of 10 billion shillings in 2013. And so the PSC team was asking why these kits were just donated anyhowly to Burundi without any recourse, and whether Kenya was going to get any benefit from that donation. And of course, the IEBC team saying that those equipment had become obsolete because they were not going to be used in the 2017 general election as a result of the upgraded technological system in terms of electoral management, as well as the law then that required IEBC to have an integrated electoral management system. And so according to them, the kits were not useful anymore, and so the donation was above board and agreed on between IEBC and the Kenyan government as well as the Burundi government as part of the relationship between the East African community countries, and as well as that partnership between various electoral bodies. And secondly, there was a series of audit queries that were raised because relevant documents had not been submitted for the usage of at least 867 million shillings, and so IEBC was required to submit all the necessary documents in relation to the expenditure that was incurred by the Commission in 2013 general election. And lastly, there are kits, biometric voter registration kits that were donated, 200 of them donated to the Devolution Ministry for the audit of public servants in the government, as well as the enlisting of NYS cohorts. And you remember that time there were questions that were raised that there could have been donated, or there could have been another unscrupulous method of trying to register voters fraudulently. But IEBC team has denied that there was any fraudulent registration of voters in the 2013 general election and the subsequent donation of those kits in 2014, and that there was no malpractice whatsoever in terms of registering voters who voted in the 2017 general election. And as I hand back to you, Joy, let me give you some breaking news a short while ago here in Parliament. You remember there were 4 members of Parliament yesterday who filed a petition for the removal of Cicely Kariuki, the Public Service Cabinet Secretary. Those members of Parliament have now withdrawn that motion, and so their efforts to have the CS impeached now remain suspended. Majority Leader in the National Assembly, Aden Duale, saying that those members of Parliament have been required to withdraw that petition, and the matters that they have raised will be dealt with internally by the Jubilee administration, both by the Jubilee leadership, both in the National Assembly and in Parliament, as well as outside Parliament. And so that matter remains suspended for the time being, or ultimately remains suspended, according to what the 4 members of Parliament as well as Majority Leader Aden Duale have been able to communicate a short while ago. Back to